Here it is. We are on today. We are live. We are alive. December 30, day before New Year's Eve. And we are here on the Grail. Glad you're joining me. It's a slow build. One listener at a time. Building this machine from the ground up. Handmade. That's right. I am just waking up, and maybe you are too. And I am excited about my guest today. This guy is definitely, and I do not exaggerate when I say this man is the coolest man I've ever met. His name is Jeff Decker, and he is pretty much the definition of the Grail. This man can make anything with his hands. He can fabricate motorcycles. He does bronze sculptures. He does leather jacket designing. This guy, he knows everything about everything. He's actually that guy. I was talking to, who was I talking to a couple days ago? Oh, Brian Holtzman on Let There Be Talking. Holtzman said not enough people say, I don't know. And he was like, do you really know everything? I feel like Jeff Decker does know everything. I mean, as far as everything that I'm interested in, man, you could just throw something out and the guy knows or been there or yeah, it's unreal. I like to read this little description of him. It's funny. I was looking at Wikipedia. I never look at Wikipedia, but I thought, let's look and see what it says about Jeff Decker. Jeff Decker is a sculptor and a historian who is known for his bronze sculptures, the most notable of which is entitled By the Horns, also known as the Hill Climber, a 16-foot tall, 5,000-pound bronze sculpture on the grounds of the Harley Davidson Museum. And I went and saw that. I've known Jeff for many years, and I have seen his work. And I remember, I think it was Bill Burr and I, we were in Milwaukee. No, it was Joey Diaz. Joey Diaz and I were doing Milwaukee. And I woke up early and Ubered over to the Harley Museum. I had never been. And as the Uber pulled up and let me out, I had the biggest fucking smile on my face because there it was in the center of the courtyard of the museum was this massive sculpture that my buddy Jeff Decker made by hand. And I couldn't stop looking at it. It was cooler than anything in the museum, and the museum is fucking top notch. But to look at this thing and know that my buddy made this by hand and it took 2 years, I was just floored. Anyway, I love the guy, and I know you guys are going to love this episode. It is pretty mind-boggling, and his energy is fantastic. And like I said, his knowledge of motorcycles, cars, leather jackets, art, everything, man. Los Angeles. It's just next level. Do yourself a favor and follow him. I was Jeff Decker on Instagram, and go to his website, Hippodrome Studios. Pick up something, buy something from him. He's got amazing belt buckles that just blow my mind. And just say hi to him. Just say hi to him, and once again, thank you for tuning in to The Grail. We are building this, well, like I said, one listener at a time, and I am enjoying doing this podcast. It is brought to you by, of course, you know, my good sponsor, Banker Guitars. Speaking of handmade, are you looking for a boutique guitar? I got you all set up. Banker Guitar. Fine handcrafted guitars out there in Nashville. You've seen Marcus King play them. You've seen Mastodon use them. Blackberry Smoke, all kinds of people. Oh, Scott from Rival Sons, they are all rocking these fine handmade guitars. I got a Carina V. It just blows my damn mind. And he is the Carina King. Matt Hughes and his wife Sarah Hughes are out there ready to take your order, and you can get it anything you want. I was just showing Marin the Firebirds, and he was like, "Oh god damn, those Firebirds are dope." Hit him up, bankerguitar.com. Tell him I sent you, and looking forward to interviewing him for the show here very soon. I think in the next 2 weeks he will be here, and his attention to detail is mind-boggling. So he is the ultimate perfect sponsor for this podcast. I hope you guys have a great New Year's Eve. Don't put too much pressure on that shit. And don't think on January 1st the whole world's going to change. Just keep positive. Keep grinding out there. And we will just find the new way. We will find our new way. Here we go. Candles are lit for my man, Mr. Jeff Decker. Got a great guest today, Jeff Decker, old friend of mine. I don't know, what have I known you, like 15 years or something?
Just whenever the whole motorcycle mania stuff was on TV, as I think when we bumped into each other.
That's right. Yeah. I your daughter's here, which is funny because I feel like you're probably the coolest guy I've met, which is weird. Like your daughter probably goes, "Nah, Dad's not that cool," right? But I pride myself on knowing a lot of shit. Like, motorcycles, whatever, clothes, music, movies, whatever. But you have like mad knowledge, man, of everything. And let's start off, you're a sculptor, right? A bronze, what do they call that?
I do lost wax casting. So I do the original sculptures in clay, then I'll do a silicone rubber mold on them, pour them in wax, and cast them in individual pieces. I've been doing that for Harley Davidson for, over a decade now. And then just focus on early racing motorcycles, And there's a lot of guys that, it is kind of a dead art because it's obsolete, but that doesn't make me the only guy that does it. But I am the only guy that focuses on motorcycles, which makes it complex because every sculpture I do is 200 separate pieces. Or when you got a mother holding a baby, it's 2 pieces.
Yeah, I gotcha. Now, when I was great, you grew up in L.A. I've been to your dad's house. Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, right there on the LA Ventura County line in Thousand Oaks there.
Yeah, so you're just straight L.A. guy.
Yeah, we're in the Santa Monica Mountains. It was 11 miles. You took Decker Canyon Road, dropped right into Malibu. But Thousand Oaks, when I grew up in the 70s and 80s there, it was the country.
Yeah, it really was, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it even has that kind of feel when I step onto your dad's place. Now, your father... the reason I want to have you on is because it's really rare that people make shit with their hands. Not only are you into cool shit and a cool dude, but you make shit with your hands. But your father, when I went to your house where you grew up, he just had like 32 Fords all over the place. He actually made shit for Ford and stuff back in the day, right?
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff. I get people saying like... about my art, you're original this or unique that. And I tell them, not really, man. I really just kind of grew up to be who I was supposed to be. When you see my old man, and you see the Willy Wonka factory that he has there, he's got 7 acres in the Santa Monica Mountains. And when Steve McQueen would buy 100 cars, he couldn't keep any of them running. My old man is the one that'd tinker on them. When Ed Roth would build a car for a show, none of these guys were creative, but they weren't mechanical.
Right.
So my old man was the guy kind of behind the scenes, keeping like the Munster dragster. So guys would go like, "Oh, George Barris built that." Yeah, he put his name on it. My old man made the thing turn.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How does your dad get known as that? Because there's, I grew up, in the Bay Area, and there's always guys you go, "Oh, you got to go see this guy." So how does that guy become that guy? That they know, like Ford goes, "We need a part, let's have him make it," or something.
I think what it is there's a lot of dudes out there that have a lot more ego than they do talent, and so they love to slap their name on stuff. And my dad likes to be the dude behind the scenes tinkering.
Yeah.
When you tell him, "Hey, there's a big party," yeah, bring me some food back. You know?
yeah, right. I remember one time I was picking up a motorcycle, your bike from him, and he says, that thing's a piece of shit. He's trying, I got it 60,000. He's on too much.
Yeah.
So old school. Now, was your dad cool when you were growing up, or was he like to you, your dad, like, fuck my old man? You know how people are with their dad? They don't realize how cool he is?
No, he actually to me was my idol my whole life. The issues that I had was my dad was low key, right? So he's got like 60 cars on that thing, but he drives like a Prius van with 300,000 miles on it that he keeps fixing.
Yeah.
That's his daily driver. But then he's got Lincoln Zephyrs, he's got Packards, big convertibles, and then he's got the 34 Fords you speak of. There are cars everywhere, motorcycles everywhere. But that kind of stuff is purely enjoyment. When he has transportation, it's pretty ghetto,
Yeah.
So then when I'd go to school at Westlake High and all this kind of stuff, and every dad was dropping off their kid in their Mercedes 12-cylinder or their Targa Carrera or some crazy thing, and my old man was dropping me off in a minivan, and so I had ego issues that way because my old man wasn't like the cool sports car guy.
Yep.
He was the kind of guy that was like, oh, for that Porsche that's dumping in value quicker than you can put gas in it, I got 7 of these old cars. And then when he dropped me off in some neat old car, it still looked like an old clunker to my kids and my friends in school.
Right. How old are you?
I was born in 1966.
Yeah, me too. We're the same age.
Okay, yeah, I in June 14th.
There you go. But I remember when I was in 6th grade, a kid turned me on, Jimmy Barcher turned me on to Porsche 911s. He had like road and track. But, there was no guys with cars like that around me. In L.A., they were all over. But in San Francisco Bay Area, that's not a car you see,
Yeah.
Until the Marin kind of cocaine thing hit.
Right.
Then everybody's like, Porsches and stuff. But yeah, it's crazy to see cars because you're thinking like, my dad's got junkers, right? And now we worship your dad's cars.
Right. So you're right. As a kid, I took a lot of that for granted. With hindsight, it dawns on you how neat your old man is. But, he helped me. I found my first car was a Porsche 356 bathtub, a little convertible.
Oh, yeah.
And I pulled that thing out of a field, and we had to lean sail it, and then we had to cut the whole pan out because it was, weeds were coming through it. But I putted that thing to high school, and the kids still were like, oh, we can't afford a new Porsche. And I was like,
wow, man. Now, how do you learn shit like this just from your dad? Like, how do you learn to do a bronze, like a sculpture, because first let's tell people the one you did for Harley Davidson, how big is that? It's out in front of the museum.
Yeah, that's 16 feet tall and like 5 ton. It's it's a 1930 DH, so it's a factory hill climber and a dude coming off of it.
Right.
And motorcycles are always in the horizontal plane. I wanted to bring it into the vertical plane so that when there's 10,000 people at their ridiculous parties, my bronze isn't hidden by,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you see that thing. Yeah.
It's always there, and it's in the center of the cul-de-sac of their 22-acre facility, with the flags flying. It's the place you take pictures. I mean, I love it. It's completely flattering, except all the cops take their annual photos there. And it's like, bummer, you didn't ask me permission. I should be getting, because if they said, look, hey, the Milwaukee Police Department would like to take a picture, what would it cost us? I'd hit them with such an insane price so they wouldn't do it.
Right. Now, how do you learn? But what I'm saying is, how do you learn to do that? Are you in school and you're doing I remember in school I had to take pottery.
Yeah.
And I just sucked, man. Yeah. Like, it's so funny. People are trying to make bongs and stuff. I'm just trying to make anything, and I was just horrible at that. Like, rock was my thing. I just started playing rock. But how do you get into making a bronze?
So I graduate from high school in 84. I go right to university at Brigham Young. And that's how I get up into Utah. I meet my wife there, a couple years later. Took art classes, and I'm with you. Art classes were boring. Art teachers are lame. They give you that. They're so stuck in that preachy 60s, we're going to change the world thing. And they don't change the world. They just talk about changing the world.
Yeah, right.
And they're all worried about international affairs, but we're latchkey kids because they were all worried about what's going on in the world, but not what's going on under their own roof.
Yeah.
So our teachers were a bummer to me.
Yeah.
And then I met this guy named Stanley Weintraub, who was probably the foremost automotive artist. And he had done stuff with Ferrari. He had done stuff with, really neat stuff. And that guy kind of took me under his wing, and he mentored me. And I did a plane, I did a boat, I did a race car, and then I did a motorcycle. And he said, now you're onto something, you know. And he said, why did you do the motorcycle? And it was really one of those things I thought, hey, a little guy gets stuck in the cockpit of a boat or a plane or a car. Full anatomy is contorted over a motorcycle. So for an artistic median or subject, you know, Remington is not all that great, but he captured the romance of the American West, and America did not have an identity. So, and then nobody realized that we needed some kind of a metaphor for the Industrial Revolution. It's not the car, man; it's the motorcycle.
Right.
The horse gets put out to pasture, and what brings us across America? Not the horse, man; the Model T and the motorcycle.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh-huh.
What was your first love, cars or motorcycles?
Probably cars.
Yeah. And was it Ferraris and Porsches, or
No,
was it American?
It was American, but weird American. You know, like Miller Indy cars. You know, big exotic race cars that were American.
Right.
I think I wasn't. The silver spoon wasn't shoved down my throat so deep that I even knew how neat Ferraris were. Hey, I love them now.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I never knew what they were. Every dude that drove them in my town was a pimp, gross weirdo that I never wanted to be.
Yeah, it's like, is that like during the Magnum PI era,
Absolutely.
right? The 308, GT. Yeah.
Not that Ferrari dudes aren't gross now.
Yeah,
but,
right?
Right.
It's so weird because I really love the 308, and you can get it for like 20 grand now.
Bad. Stuff's climbing, though.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, what happens with Ferrari is you can't afford the one, so you go to the next level, and those are cheap, but all of a sudden those are all bought up, and then those go up in money.
Oh, and Pebble Beach, hits a home run with some $38 million Ferrari, and then the junk Testarossa from the 80s is all of a sudden worth 50 grand.
I know.
But the thing was worth 15 last year.
Isn't that weird, man? Like before that, it just looks like a kit car from Miami Vice,
right,
you know?
Right. Yeah, it's a Miata under there.
Yeah, I never liked that era. I always liked the Magnum era, if we're going to go 80s, the Magnum one is pretty damn cool, black right now. If you see it with just the yellow horse, it's like, oh.
And if you put little lens caps over the headlights and you get a little glass dome going there, and then you take off kind of
got the Dino.
crap. Yeah, you got a little Dino going.
Yeah, right?
It's like a poor man's Dino. Because those are a quarter now.
Yeah, those are insane, right?
Right.
Now, your knowledge blows my mind because you know everything about vintage clothing, cars, bikes. And this is all pre-internet when you're learning this shit, right? Where are you finding out about it? Like going to Rose Bowl and just like, that's me. I'd go to Rose Bowl and the guy like Leathers and Treasures would be like, you need a Buco. Fucking Buco's the one, that guy. I
do remember right on Melrose. And I remember going to like Off the Wall and loving it because my dad had taken me there as a kid. And I'd go into Leathers and Treasures. The dude had, he'd have a rack of Langlets.
Yeah.
And then he had cowboy boots that wouldn't quit. Remember, they'd be 7 different colors, snakes and flowers in different colors. I mean, more beautiful than any tattoo. These boots were fantastic,
Totally.
And so I would go into those and loved them. And then what happened with the vintage clothing was I'd noticed that, like, remember when we were kids in high school, the Japanese started snatching up all the 501s.
That's right.
And that was when you'd blow our minds when we'd see $1,000 pair of Levi's.
I remember it.
Remember it? Yeah.
Yep.
So
Big E.
Right, all that kind of stuff. So I started going like, what makes it a 50-cent pair at the garage sale and what makes it a $1,000 pair? So I'd try to educate myself so I could find this stuff. Then my old man would hang out with all these old race car drivers and stuff, and I'd go in and see them, and I'd see a jacket that said like Irwindale Raceway, and it would be hanging. Well, they can't fit in the jacket that they fit in when they were 18 years old, and I'd go, hey, I like that jacket. They'd pull it off and they'd give it to me.
Wow.
Then I would find other people, and you know how it's like with music or records or whatever, you'd like to tell somebody, hey, go to this address and they have that stuff for sale.
Yeah.
But that's full retail if you send them to that place.
Totally.
And so I've found that over the years, like the Club Cuts or the early motorcycle, I've got 2 Crockers, I can't afford either of them. I had a Cyclone, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
I've got some great motorcycles that I could never afford. But I knew right before the market went through the roof, or I knew where these bikes were. If you go to the auction, you're always going to... Remember, if you win at an auction, it means you're the dumbest dude in the room.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? There's only one dude a little dumber than you, and he's the one that got you to that price.
Oh, man, it's insane.
So you never can buy at an auction.
Yeah, you remind me a lot of myself. We're not rich. Like at any time I have 0 in the account, but I have a 92 FXR that has 100 miles on it. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And the shit that I had to do for it is probably way harder if I just got a regular job and saved the money, because you're flipping, you're doing this, something drops through, you're like, fuck,
No, and I blow my gourd, man. When I'm at a swap meet and I see some dentist who's buying the Ferrari that I want.
Yeah.
And then I go, oh, bummer. And the dude just lays down the million for it, right? And then I should have been a dentist. And then I kind of go, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah, right?
Right.
It's true. Let's talk a little bit about Crocker motorcycles, because you have two, and they a lot of people don't know, and I only know about them because of you. They were out of Venice, California.
They were on Venice Boulevard in L.A.
Okay, let's talk about them. They start what year?
Well, the big twins show up on the scene in 1936.
So you got Harley Davidson is what year? 30?
The Harley Davidson, they start in 03 is what they tell people.
Yeah.
But the first Knucklehead's 36. So
36.
The first, modern motorcycle that Harley comes up with, which is pretty late on the scheme of things, is 1936.
Right.
Crocker is making Speedway bikes in the early 30s, and Speedway, not big in America, but big in California. Huge in Australia, huge in New Zealand, huge in England.
Is that like board track race, that thing? Or
no, Speedways, you go around like a dirt track, and you're in a drift the whole time.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're, like flat tracking.
Yeah, but on tiny bikes.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so, the flat trackers will haul, but they'll have a straightaway.
Yeah.
These guys are in a drift always.
Oh,
and when
wow.
I say a drift, the rear wheel's almost parallel to the front. That's
Is
how
that right?
jacked
The
up
whole
they are.
time?
Uh-huh.
Did they have that racing now?
They do a little bit, but they're kind of weird because the bikes are shrouded in all this kind of crazy plastic, so it's not as charming.
Right.
Yeah. But they're on it. There's one, and they're like ice skating. They flip, the tail comes out, and it's almost like synchronized swimming. These bikes are right next to each other, completely sideways in a bank.
Wow, that's badass. So you have Harley, then you have Indian, and then you have Crocker. Those are the American motorcycles at the time?
Well, at the turn of the century, when the Industrial Revolution hit, there were over 250 motorcycle manufacturing companies in America.
Whoa.
And perhaps 1,000 throughout the world. By the Great Depression, we're down to 3. We're down to Harley, Indian, and Excelsior. Excelsior was later bought by Schwinn, Ignaz Schwinn.
Oh, yeah.
And he kept it inflated a little bit longer even than it should. Indian goes out in 53. Harley should have too. AMF buys them. Then they end up buying it back. Crocker is a uniquely California bike. It's twice as much money and twice as good as a Harley. And you got to be a rich kid to get one. And then you go in there, and it's almost like, to me, the first real custom. You can pick your color before it's built. You can pick your wheelbase. You can pick your cubic inch.
Wow.
And so they were always a rich kid's toy.
And so they're kind of like the Cook brothers of BMX back when we were kids. Cook brothers was like, whoa, this shit was next level. Now, is it a family that owned Crocker? Is it a couple dudes? What was it? Because they didn't make very many motorcycles, right? How many years they open?
They're open. Basically, they made them from 36 to 42 right here in LA.
They're fucking, they're not even, they're like shorter than West Coast choppers.
World War II killed them.
Right.
So, not killed them, it made them.
Yeah.
So, Al Crocker gets a war contract and goes, I'm not making motorcycles anymore. I'm making widgets for these guys because they're giving $400 for toilet seats. I want part of that.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't even come back after the war. He's set. He doesn't even make them again. He's done. He's a playboy.
Oh, he's just got money. He's out.
Yeah. He's hanging with Tucker.
Yeah,
and another schemer, right? And so, but guess who he's got as his chief engineer under his roof? P.A. Bigsby. The dude that after World War II invents the whammy bar, the Bigsby.
Wow, the Bigsby.
Yeah, so my Crocker
Yeah.
was P.A. Bigsby's bike. And this is way before he hooked up with the boys in Bakersfield and started making the vibrato and all that kind of stuff. He was Crocker's head engineer.
Whoa, so the Bigsby guy worked at Crocker?
He was
I
the
fucking
main
never
guy.
knew that, dude.
All the castings. You know how Bigsby would have a reverse casting,
Yep.
the lower end of the thing. Crocker is the same way. It's all casting. They were freaks. Everybody was stamping stuff in steel. Steel makes more sense. It's lighter, everything
Right.
about it. But there's something neat about a casting. So you think the bottom stock that hooks onto the guitar there. Remember how they were all aluminum?
Absolutely.
Or even that upright kind of piano guitar thing. I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah.
So that's a big casting.
Yeah.
And he made all that stuff. But those handmade guitars that he made for people, I don't know, man. Are their guitars worth more than like a great Bigsby?
Well, 59 Les Paul is the most expensive in the world.
That Sunburst or
That's
whatever
right.
it is? Yeah.
So 58, 59, 60. I think there's a total of 300. They go for anywhere from 400,000 to $1.5 million, $2 million. Depends who owned it.
Yeah,
If it's just a regular one, probably 250, 275. Those are the most valuable guitars. So, you know, we talk about, and those are works of art.
Now, I'm telling you, look into these Bigsbys.
Yeah.
Because these Bigsbys, and I'm not talking this.
I understand.
vibrato.
He
I'm
made
talking
his
the
own
whole-
guitar.
Yeah, pearl inlaid with the
I
rock
know
star's
this.
name
Yeah,
on it, the
yeah.
country stars on them. Those will fetch $1 million too.
Yeah.
Those will get a ton of money. And I've always been looking one for years, right? And
Just swap flea markets and stuff.
No, you know what I mean. That stuff's snatched up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. You think that's over? Like that show's bullshit, right? Pickers, that shit's got to be planted, right?
Well, those guys are like, they're going to my dad's place. They scoped him out and he's always like said no to him for years, and now he's letting them come by. But yeah, the real wheeling and dealing, I think they got to protect themselves. You can't go in and take a Picasso for somebody for $1,000 without there being an upheaval.
They
rip that lady off.
Yeah, they sue you, right?
Or you just look like a creep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they've had to like dumb it down, and that's why they'll you know. They got a TV show. Why are they buying $100 sign and selling it for $200 when, according to them, driving from Iowa, right?
Yeah.
You know, didn't they have $1,000 worth of gas? I do in the same vehicle. You know, but they're okay with making $100 profit on a sign. I don't think so. You know,
you know, when I was young, and I know you did the sime thing. I tour across America, and I would just go to whatever you're into. My thing was Fender amps.
Yeah.
You know, blackface amps, tweed amps, man. You know, you find them for $200. You can't fucking believe it. You're going home. You're selling it for $2,000.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just, I'm still finding motorcycles out there. Not, of course, 30s Harleys and shit. People know what that shit is. But there's stuff out there. I'm not going to say what it is, because I'm still looking. But there's great shit out there still, man. A lot of people bought motorcycles and never rode them.
Well, I think that's where knowledge becomes power, is when you can differentiate there's a difference between a used motorcycle and a collectible motorcycle. So
You're
if you're
right.
buying used motorcycles and they're collectibles next year, you're in front of the curve and you're to make money. If you're buying collectibles at an auction, I hope it looks good in your office because you're paying full pop.
Yeah, I say that a lot to people that are like, hey, man, you bought some paintings early on and they're worth money now and stuff. Like, who should I buy? And I go, those weren't worth money when I bought them. They were something. I love that kind of art. That's why I fucking bought them. You know what I mean? I don't buy this shit because it's like, oh, I'm going to make money. That's the wrong angle right away, and you're going to lose anyway.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Are you a stockbroker, and can you take a piece of paper with no aesthetic and pull it out of the safe and turn that bond in for the mere interest of gaining 12% interest? Or do you buy a piece of art that you love, and we've done this too. We've paid $10,000 for a piece of art, and 5 years later, it's worth $7,500.
Yeah.
But other times, your $10,000 piece turns into a $100,000 piece. The thing that hangs on your wall that you lost money on, you still enjoyed it for all those years. That's talk of that bond. You just have to be horny for cash and nothing else. And I think we love things because there's a sincere passion for it, not just a fetish with getting more money.
Absolutely. I never even think about money. I think if I didn't want anything, I wouldn't leave the house. I truly believe that. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's such a fucking addiction of like, okay, I need to find this turntable. Like, I just got this turntable I got over here. That thing is from Germany from the 70s. It's not 20, 30 grand, but they're bulletproof. So now that's my new search, I got one. Search is over. Now I need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you didn't love shit, would you leave the house?
I don't know. This last year I wouldn't. I was in a funk that I didn't want to go anywhere,
What was wrong?
I don't know. You know what I mean? Just a midlife crisis or or some kind of a depression that Katy Perry sings about. I can't tell you.
You really? You hit a funk?
Yeah. I try. It was just kind of a writer's block. You know what I mean? Kind of like my blue period.
Yeah.
And I tried to medicate and help it, and I think it just made it worse.
You mean like doctor's meds?
Yeah.
Well, that's fucking weird,
stuff.
right?
And that stuff's horrible. I mean, you're better off, drowning yourself in alcohol than justifying what a doctor gives you. You know what I mean?
It's true, man. I understand. I relate to that because I do comedy now. But there was a period, I played music 25 years, and then you step off the fucking train, and you go, wait a minute, I've entertained all my life. What the fuck am I going to do now? Oh, I'm working at Harley. I think that's going to this will be great, Mach 2 of my life. And after a year, you're like, fuck these people, because they don't have the passion of the motorcycle that you do.
Yeah.
They're just coming in going, I want to get laid. Give me a blue one. I'm out of here. And so that started eating me, and I understand. And without comedy, I really didn't know what I was going to do the rest of my life. I was 44, and because I think you're like me, where you've burned it up so hard. You've been all over. You've met people. You've seen the planet. You've owned a $1 zillion bike, whatever. And after a while, you're like, what is there? You know? Yeah. And I had a guy on last week who was kind of the same way, and he got into, as corny as it sounds, but he's like Buddhist now, yoga, and meditating. And he's like way into that. But whatever your thing is. And how do you snap out of the funk?
Telling the doctors I'm going to figure this out on my own, and throwing their pills in the trash, and eating a little better and exercising a little more, and then just kind of I don't know, man. If I knew the cure, I'd sell some crappy book that had 7 steps on how to do it, you know, and then I'd preach to you and tell you what it is. I think we all go through our own thing on our own, but I am seeing light at the end of the tunnel. I'm feeling better. I'm getting out. I'm traveling around with my daughter, and I love it. You know what I mean? I'm having a good time. And so now, like, I've got good gigs in Italy and France. I've got good gigs in Japan. I literally will be like, hey, I don't need a per diem, but I want a better hotel, and I want my wife on the dime. Yeah. And they're good with that. You know what I mean? So I get free vacations. I'm not getting rich, but I get to go everywhere for free. Yeah, that's like me. I travel with the Stones. I didn't get rich from it, but I saw the world. Yeah. And I think once you see the world, you kind of realize, I'm pretty lucky, man. That can snap you out of a funk. Yeah. Because you see some third world country stuff or just like people, how happy they are with nothing. Yeah. And you go, well, this guy's pretty fucking happy with nothing. Yeah. Wow. Oh, and then you just realize, I'm whining about what?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let's get back to the Crockers. So they close, and how do you get your first Crocker? First of all, let's tell people, what do they go for, $1 million?
Yeah, one went for like $1.4 million. I think they're more of like $1.4
million.
Yeah.
Is that the one Leno bought?
No, that one went to Australia. It was supposed to be the first one. You know, the dude, he thinks it's the prototype. I can tell you on this radio broadcast, it's a neat early one. It's not what he thinks it is. But they're not. They're a $500,000 bike, you know. But some auction. I mean, Bear Jackson. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Some '57 Chevy goes for $500,000. Doesn't make Grandma down the street have a $500,000 car. She still has a $20,000 junk bucket. Yeah. But they see these auction hypes and go, you know. But see, Crockers, there's only like 60 of them. So
total the whole time.
Yeah.
And they're all different models because it's custom, right?
Yeah, they're
yours is a
different.
Hemi head.
I've got a Hemi head small tank, and then I have a regular side, pocket valve big tank.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Now the Hemi head is the fast one.
No, that's you lose with performance, you lose reliability, right? Yeah. And you needed to be a mechanic to drive a Hemi head. And there's very few of them. I think there's only 8 of those. And they're not reliable. They look good.
Yeah, yours is unbelievable. So yours, you completely fucking make it your own thing. You like, because not only do you do bronze, but you can build anything. You can build a bike, right?
Well, the crazy thing with that first Crocker was there was a buzz, but here in California, and it was with like guys my dad's age, right? I was literally the youngest dude on the planet to have a Crocker. Forever. I may still be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
right.
just not young anymore.
Right.
So some trust funder is going to buy one at an auction, and he'll have the rights to say that, right? So I get one that people look at like he customized a Crocker, the nerve. You know what I mean?
Like Jay Leno was furious, right?
Oh, it was crazy stuff. You know what I mean? They get all hot, but they don't realize I didn't take a virgin and deflower it. Right. I took a pile of junk basket case and built up. So mine's got a transmission that's a later model transmission. I got Cherry forks on there, not proper crooks. Yeah. Not the Hemi head's bitching. The custom one is to my liking, right? Well, they had a certain esoteric collectability about them, and they were kind of a hush-hush market. So I was taking a weird bike that didn't have an established market. Never had one been sold in auction. And then I customize it. And people are going, "Oh, what is a Crocker? A British bike?" No, it's California.
Yeah.
And why didn't you call it a Decker instead of a Crocker? Because it's not. I didn't build the thing.
Yeah.
I just personalized it.
Right.
And so I did have people blowing their mind that I would customize a bike. Well, then fast forward to one going for like $1 million, and them going, "You ruined $1 million bike." And
Yeah.
it's like, that thing was a $50,000 bike when I jacked with it.
Yeah.
And no one knew what it was.
Where'd you get it at?
I got it out of New Mexico, and it was PA Bigsby's bike. I kind of liked that because
How'd you find out about it?
Well, just these local old men that were into a ton of old bikes. Do you remember Otis Chandler, the dude that owned the LA Times?
Yeah.
Had the big museum down in Oxnard.
Yep.
All the race bikes, the bikes that I really liked, were this dude named Daniel Statnikoff. And I hooked up with Statnikoff, and Statnikoff had the remains of a Crocker. And so I traded some artwork for it.
Oh, wow.
And got these pieces, and then had the motor fully built, and then built the bike around, the motor and the partial frame. Kept the forks for when I got my Hemi head, a few years later,
Right.
that kind of thing.
How many are left now?
60 to 75, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought there's total of 60 made ever.
No. I think that I think there's 60 to 75 known.
Oh,
right?
gotcha.
Yeah. There's a book, a registry that's got 60 in there. I've heard that there's more 15 out of the registry, which I fully believe. They're not all documented. The numbers, like mine, is 201, which would tell you that there's 200 of them that have been built.
Yeah.
They just can't document them all.
Now, what is the building still there on Link? Is it on Venice Boulevard?
Yeah, I think the address is like 1346 Venice Boulevard. And
Wow.
I think it is there still. It's not a motorcycle shop.
They
It's
probably
whatever.
couldn't afford to be there now.
Yeah, probably
That's
not.
fucking
Yeah.
rent
it's
down
probably
there.
a coffee shop now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Coffee, denim, and
Bicycles.
fixies.
Right.
Now, which, by the way, you're crazy on bikes now. I noticed on your Instagram.
Yeah, I love them. I'd like.
Were you always that?
I've always liked bicycles, but I've always had stupid stuff. I've had teens, 20s, and 30s bicycles that they're fun to look at, but they're not fun to ride.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten into now lightweight bikes, rideable bikes, multiple speed bikes,
Like
so
Bianchis and stuff like that?
I got a Bianchi. I'm building for Lana.
Yeah.
But I've got like these Caminars. They're
I know 'em.
They're a French bike. I've got I got a Brian Bayless, which is a bike out of a dude in I don't know, San Diego area.
Right.
That hand built them in the 80s.
Wow.
And their paints on them, but they're all hand filleted frames.
Wow. You get into Breaking Away, that movie?
I haven't seen that in years.
Ooh,
Is that a good one?
So fucking great, man.
Who's in that one?
Well, it's the kid Kelly Leak from Bad News Bears.
Uh-huh.
The guy, the stoner pitcher.
Oh, yeah,
guy.
the bad boy.
Yeah, the bad boy, and
Yeah.
then some other guys. But it's an incredible movie.
I know I've seen it because the name
Absolutely.
rings. It's like on any Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just I need to refresh my
exactly.
memory. Yeah.
Okay, so you're on bikes. Everything about you I love. It's rare that I meet a guy that's like, wow, this guy's fucking great. Now you've done the Cannonball Run, right?
Yeah.
Let's explain a little bit what that is. You ride across country on an old bike, right?
That's essentially it. Yeah, there's a friend of mine, Lonnie Isom Jr. He had this crazy idea, and a few years later, he put the thing together. I supplied the bronze sculpture from him from the get-go, which serves as like the grand prize. We went first to, we took pre-1916 Harley Davidson, or motorcycles. Pre-1916. That means they still have pedals on them.
And where
There's
do you
no
get
kicker.
these bikes? Everybody owns them? You have to own one?
Own the bike. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're taking delicate, hard to keep running,
Yeah.
extremely valuable motorcycles. And mine was like original paint on top of that. It'd be
Wow.
crazy.
The green one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we took the thing from Kitty Hawk, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Was the first time to Santa Monica. We took it to the pier.
Yep.
The next time.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're just blowing by that. Like, yeah, we just did that. It's got to be the most grueling, because I've ride to Sturgis and people
Yeah.
look at me like,
Yeah.
you ride to Sturgis? Yeah, it's a fucking cakewalk. I'm on a Harley Ultra Classic
Yeah.
with fucking electric start, stereo, heated seat, heated grips. My only hard part about it is staying awake.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because
yeah,
you just,
yeah.
this is a
Or
Cadillac.
getting the tingle out of my butt after it's fallen asleep.
Yeah, man. What is it like to get on this pedal bike pre-1916, which is like, how old is that? And then riding, they got to break down every 20 feet. And how fast do they go? 30?
Yeah, they go. I mean, I was getting it up. Downhill, you might get 50, but that's coasting. You do that on a bicycle downhill.
Yeah. And how many guys that do it?
There were probably, I think, 60 of us the first time. Now there's a few hundred. It's gotten bigger over the years. But, I'm sure people would love me to tell them the wind in your hair, the reconnecting with America. It's horrible.
Yeah.
That they do. They break down always.
Yeah, you
and it's
told
a
me it
nightmare,
sucked.
and you're like, tick, tick, tick. Oh, is that supposed to be going on? What is that sound?
Yeah.
You know, and did I give it 1 or 2 squirts of oil? Am I going to foul the plugs, or am I going to fry the bottom end? It's lousy, man.
Wow.
The guys that go on it, they're freaks because a lot of them genuinely enjoy it. I don't think they're lying to me. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah.
I just fret, worry. You know, I make myself sick.
How many times you break down?
100 times the first time and you got to remember, we did it pre-16, pre-26,
Right.
pre-36, right?
Pre-36 is easier, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're on almost normal motorcycles.
You break down, on
like a flathead.
Yeah, even the guys were even running knuckleheads, the 36 knuckleheads, and some of those guys didn't break down at all. You might get a flat tire, which is what happens on new bikes too.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and now they're going back to 16, but it's a nightmare.
You're not going to do it again, are you, on the 16?
I never said I would the first time I committed because I didn't know what I was in for, right?
Yeah.
And then once I knew, I was like, I'll never do this again. And then, it comes around and you do it again. You've forgotten. You're reminded, but you're already on it. And then a third time, we all repeat our mistakes.
Is there money?
No, because see, the grand prize is one of my own pieces of art. I don't care.
That sucks. Man, that is incredible. I remember one time I was riding to Sturgis, and a pack of knuckles, about 40 of them, rode by me. I was like on the side of the road, and they ride these knuckles every year across country to Sturgis, and I thought that was cool. But this cannonball thing is just insane, right?
Yeah, and it's a different crowd. I mean, as you well know, the Sturgis crowd, the leather crowd, that kind of those people have a boat and they go boating one weekend.
Yeah.
Then they put their leather on and they do their motorcycle game. It's Halloween. You know what I mean? They put a costume on and they play biker for the weekend. They might get a tattoo to show they're serious.
Yeah. Barbed wire.
Yeah. A little tribal.
Yeah, a little tribal.
Maybe the Harley bar and shield.
Yeah.
And they're original. Even though there's more tattoo shops than small, churches in the South.
They'll stand around and talk about OC choppers.
Yeah. But remember when Jesse was not on TV anymore. No more Billy Lane, no more Indian Larry.
Yeah.
Who replaced him? Kat Von D and the whole horde of 10, 15 different tattoo guys.
I know.
Now what are they on to? Now they're onto like children cooks and interior decorators, right?
Yeah. People just watch anything. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
It really was a weird era, right? When chopper shows were on. You were on a couple of them. That's a weird time, right?
Well, that was right when Discovery was coming into its own. Remember, Discovery used to be you really discovered stuff.
Yeah,
they went
animals,
on a shark hunt.
Yeah, wilderness.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like kooks building motorcycles and throwing fake tantrums and with tools that and it's and they got to get mad at each other every 30 seconds and they got a deadline. It's
always a deadline.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, why didn't the guy just tell the producer, "Hey man, I can't finish it next Tuesday. We're doing the thing right." So why is doing it fast and on a budget a recipe for something good? That's the opposite. You need to take your time and spend all the money you do until you get it right. So the recipe is only for disaster. And I remember a dude that won some event. And remember, this is those dudes making they'll go, we're going to go to a casino in California and we're going to let people vote on it. Who are they going to let vote on it?
Oh, yeah.
People gambling at an Indian casino. Come on. What makes those guys, have an authority to critique a motorcycle?
Yeah,
so then
no one's rode.
Yeah. So then they win some award. The dude tells me afterwards, there's a lot of pressure, Jeff, being world champion motorcycle builder. And I go, it ain't the Super Bowl, man. It's a TV show. Yeah, but I'm world champion. Yeah, the TV dude who doesn't even own a bike himself picked you and another kook, and it has to do with your pretty hair and his pretty tattoos. Neither of you are champions.
It's all ratings. No one cares.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting thing after all that blew through. The way Sturgis was, say, 5 years later, and you would just go to you'd see those guys, and they'd just be standing there like, "Hey, man, remember me?" You know what I mean? They're like, "Remember me?"
They're still puffed up. But
and there's just kind of like, "Yeah, man, we were on a reality show."
Yeah, and
that's
and they're just faded, painted ladies at that point.
Yeah, they really, that's really got to be a weird thing because when you break it down, it's all reality stars. We're talking Honey Boo Boo, we're talking Snooki, whatever. Even back to the guy Puck from The Real World.
Yeah,
these guys, they get blown up into like, I'm a star now. And then it's gone, and people are on to the new thing, tattoos or cooking or whatever, and then they're fucking shattered.
Well, and then what do you do when people are actually tired of looking at the train wreck?
Yeah.
All right, 40 people died. The choo-choo train's tipped over. Let's go get lunch.
Yeah.
Because you have no real skill. You're honey boo-boo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like you can parlay that into something. You're just honey boo-boo.
That's it, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they're fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
It's weird how they just garbage can like that girl.
What I can't figure out is their 15 minutes lasts 5 years.
That's really weird, right?
Yeah.
I think that has to do with a lot of people not having shit to do in America. It's amazing because you and I travel a lot, and I do comedy, and I've rode a motorcycle through this country 6 times. I think it's the best place I've been. I mean, of course, I love Japan. You love Japan, and there's spots that I love like Todo Santo, shit like that. But America is unbelievable, and people live right in it and don't even go see it.
You know, the thing about our generation was our parents would throw us in the station wagon and take us, to New Mexico or some crazy thing.
Right.
People don't travel for enjoyment on 4 wheels anymore.
You're so right.
They get a $99 flight to Cancun, and they get the bargain rate, and then they come back, or they go, wherever they go. There's so many neat parts of America that are 4 miles off the interstate, and no one gets off the interstate.
Isn't that weird?
Uh-huh.
Like
they go from Walmart to Taco Bell to McDonald's, back to Cabela's, back to Walmart. But they don't realize that on the interior of America, there's still little Sears stores that have been there since the 30s.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like even in California, like if you're going to Yosemite and you go, the 385 or whatever, you see shit and you go like, hey, look at that guy makes saltwater taffy. Let's pull in here. Yeah. And the guy's like, I've been here forever. The guy next door blows glass. And you're just fucking amazed, like that kind of shit is unbelievable. And I think that's why who you and I are, as far as like, oh man, I know about this because I talked to a dude 20 years ago that told me everything about it.
Yeah.
Now it's like some stewardess told you, watch out for that taco who gives you diarrhea, whatever. It's
or
insane.
You land in a town and you go, what's there to see in St. Paul? And you open up the tourist guide, and then they go, well, this place has got 12 Yelps, better than the other one.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, well, their coffee's $9 a cup, but it's probably better than the $6 a cup coffee.
Right.
And there's still places where it's coffee's free, or it's a nickel, or whatever.
It's crazy, especially on the way to Sturgis. I see shit that I take the back routes, and it blows my mind. Yeah. So you go to school in Utah. You move out there. You're Mormon, right?
Yeah.
And you've been Mormon your whole life?
Yeah. My grandpa came from Utah, and from kind of a Jack Mormon family, and moved to Long Beach. And his mom was kind of a drunk, and she used to sell box lunches out to the offshoremen, right? And then my grandpa goes to World War II, comes back, meets my grandma, who's not a member of the church, and then she finds she wants that. My dad is raised a Mormon. And then he marries a gal, my mom, who's kind of from a rough life, and she goes, hey, I need some stability too.
Right.
But, right there in Thousand Oaks, there was a group of maybe 100 of us.
Wow.
Kind of a freak, like a weird deal. All my friends were Jews or Catholic.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, so how many wives you got? And I'd be like, what do you, I didn't understand what their jokes meant.
It really is that stuff though, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I heard that forever, and I go, well, my friend... Really, the only guy I know that's a Mormon is Jeff. And he's still married, got a great family, and a cool dude.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about magic underpants or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, and Bill Burr has a great joke about it. I think it's anything that's religion from the last, couple hundred years or whatever it is, it's just too new.
It's still joke worthy.
Yeah, right. Like he says, Scientology, it sounds all crazy why he's still believing in Catholic stuff or whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's just too new. But it's interesting, Mormons. You know, because I was in Boise, Idaho, and that's a heavy area.
That's right, yeah.
And there seems to be areas. What makes like they just go, this is where we're going to set up? I don't know anything about the religion.
No, the religion was formed, almost 200 years ago in upstate New York, right?
Right.
And there was a guy that was, wondering about religion, Joseph Smith. That's the thing too. The guy's name's Joe Smith.
Yeah.
So they go, come on, he's got a fake name, that kind of a thing.
It's like Scientology. What's that guy's name?
Hubbard, right?
Yeah, L. Ron
I'm gonna write
Hubbard.
a book. I'm gonna write Star Trek, but I'm gonna do a religious Star Trek.
Yeah,
yeah.
Heavy documentary coming on. That was just at Sundance last week, and they're furious over this thing. But we'll get into that later. But man,
they did. They light up. There was a dude that, like, in South Park. South Park makes fun of everybody. Right?
South Park is the best, right?
Yeah. So they make fun of everybody. It gets to Scientology's turn, but one of their really clever writers is Scientologist.
Yep.
And whoa, I can't touch that subject. And you're like, no, dude. If you're making fun of everybody else, you can make fun of yourself.
Yeah, the chef left also because he was Scientology. That makes no sense, right?
No, it's like you can poke fun at everybody, but then, and the thing is, you got to be smart enough to go, if you can't laugh at yourself, you got no business being in comedy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it starts 200 years ago.
Yeah, so basically, Joseph Smith in upstate New York wants to find out, what religion is true. He finds a passage in the Bible that says, knock and you shall receive, basically say a prayer. He prays, and the first time since forever, he claims, right? I believe.
Yeah.
You probably don't. But, that God the Father and Jesus Christ the Son came to him and said, all these religions are good in nature, but they're closer to me with their mouths than they are their hearts. We need to just start something more grassroots that's more in line with, like, the first church.
Yeah, just neighborhood kind of stuff, right?
So this group of guys form this church. They start moving west, and as they're moving west, remember 1776. Apparently, the Constitution is written. They put these different things into action, and here this Mormon Church is formally established in 1832, but kind of being tinkered around with earlier than that, and what is one of the inalienable rights of Americans is freedom of religion, right? Except Mormons, right? Yeah. So they get the religion going, and there's extermination orders out on Native American Indians and Mormons.
Is that right?
You could have a bounty for a Mormon's head.
Wow.
Right?
So that's early America's, like, killed Indians and Mormons. And probably gays, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was illegal to be gay, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they killed them and got a bounty, but you hid your cousin, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So they progressively move west until they're kicked out. Every time they get to a new place, they establish a night community, they get going, and they kicked out, and they go west. They kicked out, going west. Well, by the time they get to the Great Salt Lake, that basin there, remember, it's not America, man. It's Mexico.
Yeah.
They've left America, and now they've established this state of Deseret, which is Idaho, Nevada, Mexico. They own this whole area, right? And Mexico could care less because they're not managing the northern part of their territories.
Yeah.
So then with America and their manifest destiny, they come and they got to run into the Mormons again. Well, guess who one of the Mormons is?
Who?
John Browning.
Yeah.
Every patent for all good weapons. Every
Browning
Remington,
rifle. Yeah.
Browning, He's a Mormon, and he's going, this time you're coming at us, we're coming back.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah. So they got John Browning, and they got rifles.
Yeah.
Every good patent from all the wars, are John Browning's bastardized patents for Colt, for Remington, for all of them. So now all of a sudden the Mormons got a little bit of oomph. So now they have this Mormon Battalion, all this kind of stuff. So now it's like, well, we'll annex you, and we'll work things out, and then we'll whittle down your giant, frontier state, and we'll turn it into Utah, this little chunk, which we don't think there's anything valuable here.
Yeah.
So basically, the Mormons that you refer to that are in Utah, that are in Idaho, they've been there. They're the first white man that were there.
Wow. Now, there's different Mormon, right? There is a Mormon, that guy that had multi-husbands and stuff, or multi-wives, multi-husbands. That would be a wild one.
The multi-husband Mormons are up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
The multi-wife ones are in the little fringe towns in, in Nevada and all that.
That's a different group, though, right?
Yeah, they're fringe groups. So the Mormons might have 10 million members, in America.
Yeah.
These guys might have 500. You know what I mean? They're just little tiny, and they are little fringe groups because it's totally illegal. Mormons haven't practiced polygamy for instance, okay, so when Mitt Romney, the Mormon, right, weirdo, you know what? They never brought up polygamy once. You want to know why?
Why?
Because President Obama is a son of polygamy.
Is that right?
His father had like 4 wives, 2 black women on the compound. He had a white lady in town, and then he had the wife that he married in Hawaii when he was going to school.
Is that real?
Yeah, for real. And you know where that you find that? You read President Barack Obama's autobiography. It's called Dreams of My Father or something like that.
Yeah.
And he talks about being a son of polygamy right in there and how his dad was a polygamist.
That's
right?
crazy because...
So they don't bring up the Mormon deal because then they got their dude. They go, oh, well, you know, Mitt Romney came from polygamy 4 generations ago, 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, and our black president, Obama, oh, he's a son of polygamy. Let's just not bring up the polygamy thing at all.
That's hilarious, right? Because he's you wonder how he got elected there because he said he did drugs, smoked weed, and polygamy and all that. Like, you know, like middle America just be like,
I don't think Barack endorses polygamy. But,
right.
You know,
No.
I mean, we all get born in a circumstance that we can't control.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if he endorses it.
No, I'm not saying he endorses it, but what
yeah.
I'm saying is when people just, you know, they're just redneck, get stuff secondhand, they go, wait a minute. You know, they don't even, they're not going to sit down and read his autobiography.
Right.
And they go, oh, that's what happened. They're just, you know,
The little splinter group that has nothing to do with the main body gets all the attention.
Now it's funny because you're pretty vocal, and I consider you kind of a radical dude because when I talk to you, we have some funny conversations, which you should have your own radio show for sure. It would be a smash hit. You just do it in your fucking garage, and I'll show you how to put it up because your stories are incredible and stuff. But it's funny to think how, like, you roll with radical guys, say Jason, Jesse, or whatever, but you're a religious man.
Jason's Mormon too.
No, no way. Are you kidding?
No,
recently or forever?
No, his whole life.
I watched his documentary with you. Was that in there?
That's right. There's a whole section that talks about him being Mormon.
I forget about that. I just mostly remember because he was carrying the Quran on the plane and got in trouble.
Yeah, just crazy stuff. Yeah,
That's a great film. Mm-hmm. That guy's a radical dude, right?
Oh, yeah. He's good. And you know what it is? He might have been the greatest skater on the planet for a blink of an eye. Yeah. But he's genuinely eccentric. He's a performance artist. Yeah. You know, you film him and you capture gold.
He recently lost a lot of weight. See him? He looks great.
Yeah. Cleaned up. And he's really doing good. And as a matter of fact, he's skating again. He's got
I saw the videos
with
Chuck Taylor's. That guy's great. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about Robert Williams because you're good friends with him. Yeah. And you and I love oil paintings and stuff. Is he the first guy? I mean, he's the first guy I know from Guns N' Roses. He does the Appetite for Destruction cover, and that's really the entry for me into this incredible art world of him, Mark Ryden, Todd Shore, and all that stuff, you know?
And all those guys, the lowbrow artists that you refer to, they're all second generation. He's first.
That's correct.
And so he's Albuquerque, New Mexico, but he moves to Southern California, and he gets right in bed with Robert Williams, gets up with Von Dutch and with Ed Roth. Yeah. And they're out here in Santa Paula, and that's where the connect is from me as a childhood. My dad is keeping these guys' rigs running. Their bikes, their whatever.
So you're like on a regular basis, you're hanging with Von Dutch,
Robert
Williams.
All my dad's age.
Yeah,
older.
That's fucking crazy.
So I was just a weird.
And you don't even at the time they're not iconic. I mean,
no,
like
not
you
at
get
all, man. Von Dutch was a horrible drunk. He stunk.
Yeah.
He was a foul racist.
Yeah.
He was not a neat dude.
Yeah,
right?
and now he's just known for those
crazy.
shit hats and stuff.
Yeah. I love it. You know what I mean? Because they don't know that he was just a creepy racist. You know what I mean?
Is that right?
Oh yeah. And then Ed Roth was Mormon.
Whoa!
Yeah, he ended up living in Manti, which is a real conservative, backward little town up in Utah. Right? So I get all these weird connects with these guys. And so Southern California, the car, motorcycle, culture, and art. And remember, these guys were surfers. These guys were car guys. They were all this kind of stuff. You and I grew up in this whole basin when there was a worse drought than we're experiencing right now. So every pool was drained. Kids were skating in it. So this guy is an adult when we're kids, and he's selling big on the East Coast. But when Robert Williams is practicing serious art, Ed Roth is getting in bed with the model companies and selling the little rat fink
I remember those.
in every incantation you can imagine.
Right.
Von Dutch is just a drunk recluse his whole life and really becomes famous after he's dead. He's kind of a folk hero.
How does he die?
Danny Brucker gave him a shot of morphine because he had some kind of some horrible thing that he was dying of too slow, and just said, end this.
Oh, wow.
To remind you, I've got his suicide note, but it's not a matter to talk about. It's really horrible.
Yeah, wow. Dude.
But anyways, these three dudes come up with this thing. Well, when the skate culture hits big,
yep.
and when these kids with Thrasher magazine and stuff like that start making money, they approach Robert Williams, probably because of the Appetite Destruction connection, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And go, hey, let's make an art magazine. Robert Williams with Thrasher creates Juxtaposed.
The greatest magazine for art there is.
Absolutely. And the biggest publication, and the one that's in touch with human beings, not art snobs.
That's correct.
Which are gross, man. You know, I mean, I'm an artist, but artists can be gross.
Yeah.
Art collectors can be even worse.
Yeah, they're really weird, right?
They're very elitist.
Yeah, they are. It's crazy because those three guys you're talking about, and Juxtapose, and also Mark Ryden later on, are, I mean, it's 100% California, those guys. We've got hot rods, we got BMX, we got skateboarding, and we got motorcycles. And that, I think, is all born here, right? There's nothing fucking better.
No, and there's no valid argument, because basically, you know, I mean, you grew up in the Bay Area, but quite frankly, the Bay Area is kind of an East Coast city on the West Coast.
You're correct.
L.A. is L.A. L.A. is West Coast, and nobody's got it on it. And so the New York might have the big money art scene, right? But the thing is New York's not a car city. Rich people don't even know how to drive there.
You're so right.
You know?
That's why I don't live there, because I'm a motorcycle addict.
Yeah, and the thing, you think about it, in the ghettos of California, they got room for their busted Camaro in the yard. It's a joke. It's become a cliche, right?
Yeah.
But every lowlife here has 3 cars. We all have a 3-car garage.
Yeah.
We all, you know, they have huge lanes that stay empty in this state, because it's carpool, because every dude wants to drive his own car. He doesn't want to be the passenger.
Yeah.
We love cars to a fault, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we've got the good weather. We can afford convertibles because the weather affords it. We can afford the Ferraris because the industry allows it. It's a car-loving culture.
Yeah.
And from that, the surf, the motorcycling, all that kind of stuff. So when it reared its ugly head in the art world, it's purely California, and it's L.A. more specifically.
You're so right. You're so right. And I think it's some of the best art ever. Yeah. I mean, that's just because that's what you and I are into. I mean, I've been to the Louvre. I've been to all the biggest art, you know, museums and stuff. But I still come back to that. I'm a little burnt on it now because everybody's the same. You know, you're like, I get it, you know. So I burned out on it, but I still love what it's about. How did you stay in Utah when you're so California?
Well, I mean, when real estate agents say location, 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 I agree. They're totally right? But you also hear, like, when you talk about, you know, when you get Lou Reed, when you get the New York Dolls, when you get Andy Warhol, when you get these guys talking about how neat New York is, right?
Yeah.
And the whole factory group, what they always say too is the neatest people in New York aren't from New York.
Right.
Well, the neatest people from LA are from LA or from California. You know what I mean? They stay. New York attracts, right? Well, I grew up in LA, and so I was so horny to get out of L.A.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get to like a quiet place. And then it's kind of dawning on me now, that Thousand Oaks was pretty quiet. That's kind of what I'm used to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
But to me, it's still, you know, my report card said L.A. County on it. You know what I mean? So it's that's where I was, I suppose. But and then the other thing too is if you're like Dali, if you're some wacko and your whole life you live some strange thing, and my studio is bizarre, man. You got to check it out.
I want to. I've been dying to get there.
People come to you. You don't need a 90210 address. You don't need to say, hey, I'm from Williamsburg. Hey, I got a place in Silver Lake. Eventually, they come to you, even if it's Springville, Utah, right?
Yeah.
And granted, I didn't hit a home run right away. Granted, my art is not, you know, super well known, but I've been at it long enough that when people go to Sturgis, they stop in Springville, Utah, you know. And then, you know, you drop pieces off here at LACMA. You actually need to go to that deal, that Robert Williams thing coming up. It's a Juxtapose sponsored deal. I'm
going to that.
And we'll go. It's in 2 weeks.
I'm never missing that.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
Absolutely.
But stay there. My wife was from Hawaii. I think that you know, we both grew up in areas that were cosmopolitan, crowded, maybe a little much, and I think the charm of like small town
was
neat.
Your wife still rides? She was riding back when I first met her.
A little bit. The thing is she scares me when she rides. I love her too much. And I see her, and it's like driving a car is gnarly on two wheels. Yeah. It's like, she scares me. Plus that little bike that Cole and I built for her.
Yeah, the pink one.
I don't want to see her tip that thing over.
How do you keep it together like a one-woman man? You know what I mean? Because it's like the average motorcycle hot rod guy is also a dirtbag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how
many of our friends have gone through 7 wives?
Oh man, we don't even need to name names. Anybody listening to this knows already.
right.
It's wild though. It's got to be a tough gig. Did you have long-term girlfriends before that?
No, As a matter of fact, I was painfully naive. It's dawning on me how naive I was growing up. Right? Yeah. And I grew up. I mean, the thing was it was a 20-minute drive to go to the whiskey
club.
Or the Roxy, the Rainbow, whatever, and we'd go there all the time. And we'd the Palladium, all the different places around here, and I'd see some wacky stuff, man. In the early '80s, we'd go see Bauhaus, the Dickies played on a regular basis, X played on a regular basis, but we'd see the European stuff too. Damned had come through, Susie and the Banshees, all that kind of stuff.
The Clash, shit like that.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah. You'd see it right here. It was 20 minutes away.
Fuck yeah, Devo.
Oh, Devo was fantastic.
Yeah, Fear, all that.
Yeah, playing on a regular basis,
Yeah.
And so then I move up there. My wife, her sister owns the biggest nightclub in Salt Lake City.
Oh, really?
So, so all the bands going to Denver to play a shoot, we would go there. So I always got to see bands, and it was kind of in a spoiled atmosphere. You never paid a ticket.
Sit on stage. Yeah. Once you're there, you can't do it the other way, right?
And even your favorite band, when you find out you got to pay $90 for a ticket, I'll listen to them on the radio.
Yeah, 90. Because you're thinking, well, fuck, I got to buy another Crocker. I'm not going $90. Right. That is wild, man.
I'll just steal his music off the internet.
Yeah. I did get some funny texts from you about a year ago where you were just shooting off Carl from Caddyshack, Bill Murray's stuff, and I know it inside and out, and it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What spawned that? And are you a big comedy guy?
No, I just kind of like when I'll have a thought that won't get out of my head, but if you come into my mind or something like that and I text it, that's how I can get rid of it. I can trash can it to a friend.
It's
Otherwise,
so great.
It regurgitate. It stirs in there and stuff like that. But I read this book called The Fourth Turning, and it talked about these Saclium as 100 years, and it talked about these different iconic things that represent different generations. So basically, the hippie generation would have been a prophet generation. It means they talk a lot about what's going to happen in the future. We're going to save the world.
Right.
Peace, love. They don't do anything. They talk about it, right?
They smoke weed and spend their parents' money.
Yeah, and they do that kind of stuff. Well, then they create a nomad generation. That's us. Yep. So the hippies give birth to the punks, right? And we're latchkey, and we do whatever we want. But we have this kind of like guilt.
What's latchkey?
That means that your parents went, hey, I got to work till 6, but when you get home at 3 o'clock from school, you're going to be alone for 3 hours. Lock the door.
That's so me. I never heard that.
An empty house.
Yeah, right.
We didn't have babysitters.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
How far did you go from your house on a bicycle?
Yeah.
I had a 20-mile radius to travel alone.
Oh, man, I go all right.
Right. I wouldn't let her do it.
No. Yeah.
Right? So
and we're talking during, SLA, Patty Hearst.
Yeah.
Also, there's some other, Jim Jones. For me, Bay Area, People's Temple, all these murders everywhere. And I'm just like, on the BMX bike.
No, but that's the beauty of hippies, is they didn't raise their children. They didn't give a damn.
You're
they
right.
let us do whatever we wanted.
So funny.
Now we're completely anal with our kids. Where are you at?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I told you where to be this. So here the punk rock era is now we're all uptight about raising
almost
our kids.
in a Republican way, right? Of like,
but we're very guarded and stuff like that. The craziest thing about punks, and that was one of the things that I thought about, and it's my generation, so I can make fun of it. But I'm so tired of people going, I get tattoos because I don't care.
Yeah.
I wear my hair like this because I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what, man? The dude that doesn't care is the dude that's wearing his pink Izod sweater that his grandma got him 17 Christmases ago.
Yeah.
He's got 2 different color socks on. He has a 9-to-5 job. He gets dressed in the dark. His hair's got dandruff. That dude doesn't care.
Yeah.
Mike Ness, you care.
Hell yeah, he cares.
When you go into an antique store and they give you a dirty look and I don't care what you think. No, you got the reaction you've been culturing your whole life.
Yeah.
You care so much. So it's like, as punks, we need to own the fact that we care what people think. I'm so tired of going, oh, dude, I look like a badass because I don't care. No, you look like a badass because you care too much.
That's exactly what I was talking about. If we didn't want to buy shit, we wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah,
because we care.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to have this bike.
Yeah.
And then I ride around like, look, it's a 92 with no miles.
Yeah,
And it's so ridiculous, right?
And that the whole, you just... you bludgeon that thing about I don't care and all this kind of stuff. And then what happens is people take these beautiful words and they ruin them. Like hero. We were talking about that. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, everybody that lists in the Army is not a hero. There's 10 dudes in there that are heroes, and you insulted all the every deadbeat that enlists in the Army.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's a hero. That means that the 10 dudes that really are heroes, now they're no big deal because the whole platoon's a hero, right? Oh, I'm a fireman. I'm a hero. No, you're not, man. You're just a fireman. And you knew a hero, but your whole platoon isn't a hero, right?
Yeah.
Cops, are you kidding me? In L.A., I can't get on the 101 anymore. I got to get on the Sergeant blah, blah, blah. And then I got to take the Sergeant blah, blah, blah highway to the
Highway Patrol, freeway.
Right, and then jump off the Commissioner exit, Commissioner Joe Blow. Hey, man, every time a hero gets hit by a car, hey, that dude did it in the line of duty. I didn't force him to be a cop, and if he got shot, hey, man, you should have been a plumber. And speaking of plumbers, hey, when a plumber goes in and saves a neighborhood from dysentery, they don't name the neighborhood after him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's like Joe's Plumber Shop, Silver Lake.
Yeah.
He can't even afford.
Saved us all. We all would have died of dysentery. Oh, no, but a cop gets hot on an off-ramp. Oh, they got a 21 salute. They got to block the freeway. It's kind of like, man, if the guy was worried about not getting hit on the freeway, he should have been a plumber.
Oh, man. I love that. How many kids? You got 2, right?
No, 4. 2 girls, 2 boys. She's my
really?
youngest. Yeah.
Wow. How old is she?
18?
17.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's got to be terrible to have daughters, right? Your sons, you don't care, right? They ride whatever. Your son looks like a goddamn model.
Yeah, Lana and I were talking about
what's going on with that guy, man?
He got it all, didn't he?
Yeah, he's just Chris Isaac part 2.
Yeah, beauty. No, my daughters actually don't make me worry because have you ever gotten a B in your whole life?
What about drugs? How do you not do drugs, Jeff? Did you do drugs growing up?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I never acquired a taste of beer, right?
Yeah.
And so if I was at a party or something and hand me a beer, I'd be embarrassed or something. I'd taste a thing. And beer is kind of like sardines.
Yeah.
There's some point you got to gag them down before you get a taste.
Yeah, nobody really likes them. You just learn to like them, right?
Right. So I fortunately never learned to like alcohol.
Right.
So it's never really been
But a lot of cocaine going on in the 80s. You didn't get down on that?
No, I'm telling you, I was pretty naive.
Yeah,
I saw it all.
Yeah.
But
you were just like a country Thousand Oaks bunkin, right?
Yeah,
it's
and
fun.
a Mormon.
Yeah, and a Mormon.
Yeah.
Even at young age, were you going to church on Sundays and stuff?
Yeah. The thing that saved me was that I had a choice of going to like the drag races with my dad, or swap meet with my dad, or church with my mom. Yeah. And that's a pretty easy decision.
That's where you learned all your shit.
Yeah.
Church is so boring. Does your daughter? You go to church?
Yeah, and to me, it's one of those deals that I need balance, right? Because you know me, man. I'm off the deep end.
Yeah.
So I need something to stabilize me in life. So I go to church and I have to turn it like into entertainment. You know what I mean? But I sit there and literally, I mean, she can tell you. Somebody will get up and I'll go, hey man, I'm happy none of my friends are in here right now because what she said is the most off the wall thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And so you sit there and. You're a member. You're bought, sold, committed, right? But you sit there and you kind of go, sweetheart, you should have stayed in school. That sentence didn't even jive, let alone it's not true.
Yeah. Now, if you're a very vocal person on all levels of stuff, which I love, and you don't really think, like if you say, fuck Sturgis, these goddamn TV choppers or whatever, they go, Jeff, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like if you're in church and you start saying, I don't know about that, do they look at you as like, this guy's trouble?
Yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? I'll say stuff occasionally because I'm kind of cursed with a pretty good memory. Yeah. So I'll read some obscure little innuendo and they'll bring up some mainline thing and I'll kind of go, yeah, but the exception to the rule is this. And I'll bring up some little thing, and so it's kind of, to me, it's stimulating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't always mean to be the devil's advocate.
Got it.
It kind of keeps things fun. I mean, if you're sitting there at dinner, I don't know that I want to be patted on the back and agreed with the whole time.
That's boring,
a little bit
right?
Of controversy is interesting. Man, if we have political views that are different or religious views that are different, hey, man, that's a glue that'll bring us together because, we're two cogs in a wheel. If we agree on everything, the ends of the cogs are going to hit.
Yeah.
Because it's boring. We have nothing to say. I agree with you. I do too. I love blue. Blue's my favorite color too. It's nice to go, hey, green is nice, man. It goes good with blue.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, why I enjoy talking to you. It's like I had a guy on last week, Duncan Trussell, I was talking about. I enjoy conversations and stimulation because I think there's no conversations anymore. Everything's text or email. So when you can get with somebody and you can get some friction and some argument, but you walk away and you go, that guy was fucking had some cool shit he was talking about, that I think it beats any drug there is, really. I just walk away with like more and more knowledge. And it's funny because a lot of times I'll be talking to people and I start feeling like, people look at you like, this guy's full of shit because you've been places and you know shit. It's weird, right?
Yeah,
like you almost feel weird, like you got to dumb yourself down because you don't want to look like some fucking liar bullshit storyteller, but you've been around the planet.
Yeah. And then the thing too is you get, I'll experience something that becomes a good story, right? And then the story in and of itself, absolute truth without exaggerations, a fantastic story. Now with a little bit of color and exaggeration, it turns into a great story.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's great.
You watch like some movie star being interviewed or whatever, and it boils down to they're advertising the new film they're coming out with.
Yeah. There's
and
no substance.
No, there's no substance in any of it.
No. And they're afraid you might find out who they really are because they've got a facade. That's what I love about you. There's no facade. When I first met you, I was laughing my head off because I was like, oh, man, and I've gone to crazy parties with you, like that one guy that his family invented ink or whatever.
Yeah, Urban Hirsch's party. That was a good one.
One of the fucking most insane houses I've ever been in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
He had a garage that had 4 stories of rare motorcycles. Yep. Now, I tell somebody that story. I go, man, Jeff took me to this guy's house. Their family provides all the newspapers with their ink. Yeah. And he's got 4 stories of fucking motorcycles, probably $10 million in motorcycles. His home's probably $100 million. And they just look at you like, yeah, this guy's full of shit. No. It's like, no.
We got run of the place.
Yeah.
It's like,
the guy's going, hey, go anywhere you want. And you're walking around this mansion like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So it's amazing. You're a lot like on a different level than me, but people, I think, like to have different. Once they're secure with who they are, they've made money, and they're smart and fun. They like to have different flavors at their party.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing. There's classes, and it talks about, classes in America. American dream is they got to move up classes. Not really. I mean, Oprah Winfrey and Bill Gates are middle class with a lot of money.
You're right. You're so right there.
Rich people are different animals.
That's wealth. I mean? Wealthy is different than rich.
Absolutely. Wealthy is different. It's class. So if you're upper class, you might have all the money in the world, but you're self-made, which is kind of dirty because you work.
That's right.
That boy that inherited the money means nothing to him. He's different, man.
Yeah.
That guy's a different dude.
Yeah.
And
I think that's my only demon is I have a lot of problems with trust funds. You find it a lot in this town where guys, they like each day. And I don't know why I have a problem with it because they never really seem to really excel. They get places because their dad makes a call, but they never really are the champion.
Well, and it doesn't matter to them because they have nothing to. There's no panic. There's no.
You're so right there.
You know what I mean? If they fail, so what? The check's still going to be here next week.
My bank account was minus $279 on Thursday. The amount of dodging I did over the weekend just to eat, like I'd go to a club and just eat and leave. Like, all right, thanks, man. I'm going on tomorrow. Yeah. Like, you're 49 years old with no money.
Yeah.
Yet happy as fuck. But it's true. I think once somebody is wealthy and they know who the fuck they are, they like to have different flavors, like I was saying.
But the thing is in the flavors you're referring to, there's one type of people that can move through the classes comfortably, and if you're beautiful, you're a trophy, and you can move in, right? Of
course.
Or if you're an artist, and you think about it, the king always had the court jester, or the king would always. Michelangelo was okay to hang out, right? And it's because the diversity is appreciated. They're so tired of their inbred cousins and nephews with as much money as they have that they want a little color, like
You're
you
right.
say.
Yep.
And so they'll
the rock and roller.
They'll allow an artist in. If that artist is a musician, a sculptor, a writer, whatever. You think about Oscar Wilde, all these kind of guys. They were middle class, but they hung out with the elite.
You're so right.
Because they were interesting and charming. You know what I mean? So what is Mark Mahoney's thing about the underworld and the elite meet? That kind of a deal?
Yep.
That's where that kind of stuff crosses. That's why movie stars, which are the new royalty, can do whatever they want because Queen so-and-so can let him in there because she's seen him on TV and she goes, you know what? We're going to have Goofball over for dinner.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is being an artist is kind of like having a handicap, right? In a good way.
Yeah.
Because when you park like a moron or you tell an off-color joke at a party, they go, he's an artist.
Yeah.
It's like you're at the party and you think the drunk idiot. Well, if it's the uncle, get him out. If it's the artist, they kind of go, that guy's hammered everywhere.
Yeah. Bukowski, you know? And that's why Bukowski rolled in all those scenes.
Yeah.
And that is why I've seen The Entire Planet, because I think that people are like, this guy's a maniac. We got to bring him along, man, because we're boring as fuck. You know what I mean? If it's four guys and we're the same, you know?
Hey, reverting back to something you were saying earlier where I shoot my mouth off and I say whatever, right?
Yeah.
I have paid for that a few times. And it's with candor, people will bring it to my attention a decade later.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm with a dude at this auction in Las Vegas just 2 weeks ago, and the guy goes, "Hey, my girlfriend's not a real big fan of you, so I want to get a picture with you, and then send it to my, kind of twist her panties a little bit." And I go, "Your girlfriend doesn't like me. What did I do to her?" "Oh, you've never met her." And I'm like, "How does she not like me? And she's never met me." "Oh, she read some magazine article that said basically you like to keep your wife at home barefoot and pregnant the way a good Mormon should be." and he goes, and he thought that was very derogatory towards women and Mormons. And I go, my wife was barefoot at home and she was pregnant and I'm Mormon. And the dude goes, "Oh, yeah." All right, I'm going to have to explain that to my girlfriend.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She didn't even look into it.
No,
she's like, look at this asshole.
She just thought I was like insulting people. I'm like going, "Hey, I was making fun of myself." You know?
Oh, man. All right, look, your daughter's trying to escape this hut here.
Yeah. All right, well, pleasure, man.
Listen, man, I love you, dude.
Love
Big
you too.
time. I'm so glad you're here.
We'll see you tomorrow, the next day at Inspiration.
Yeah,
and then we'll see you at Robert Williams' deal in a couple weeks.
Yeah, now let's talk real quick where we can find you, because I want people to see your art. It's incredible. This is some fucking, as dumb as this sounds, there's not a lot of dudes doing it just for a living, just making bronze. So where can we find you?
You can look me up like on Instagram. I'm like, I was Jeff Decker on Instagram. If you go on the internet and look up like jeffdeckerstudio.com or hippodromestudio.com, or you punch my name in, stuff will come up.
Yeah, and then you're still making cool shit, like you were making badass keychains and belt buckles.
Yeah, doing different collaborations with clothing companies. Robert Williams and I are doing something with Neighborhood out in Harajuku. I've got a thing with Dionysi in Italy going on right now. You'll see both of that stuff more next year.
And then some of the Langlet's jackets you've come up with are my favorite, like that one, the Decker. Now you can see that.
Yeah, that's neat stuff. You know,
you got to go to Langlet's Japan though, a website to see them.
That's right. It's because here people want big clunky jackets, and there they want more of a fitted look.
I think it's finally turning around again. I had recently talked to the owner of Shot, the grandson, Jason. And he said that this is interesting before you go, because you and I love leather jackets. You love them. I'm obsessed with leather jackets.
Yeah.
Always have been. They make me fucking crazy.
I got a dozen of them in the truck.
I got to look. Yeah, absolutely. The thing about leather jackets to me is it started, I think, with Evel Knievel and Elvis, 68, Comeback, 69, Comeback, whatever that year is. And then Evil. And then, of course, later.
And we're not talking a clunky, heavy black leather jacket. We're talking red, white, and blue pimp.
100%.
Yeah.
I go colored jackets now.
Yeah.
That one there's black and white. I wear that. That's like Michael Schenker, Saxon, crazy shit. But the obsession of leather jackets blows my mind. And it started back at Rose Bowl and Melrose and stuff. But Langlet's makes some of the greatest jackets, right? They're up there.
Yeah, what happened was the other companies, Shot, Lewis, all those other ones, they ended up getting corporate and big. Yep. Langlet's stayed a mom and pop boutique in Portland, Oregon, and it still is. Now, and basically, you have to go to Portland or you have to go to Tokyo, and it's the only places where you can get them. You walk in, they take a measurement from the crown of your shoulder, your neck, down to your elbow, to your wrist, and that jacket is made for you. Now, you can buy a 42 off the shelf, but if you're there, you might as well get a measurement.
Totally. Well, what Jason told me is, it's interesting. He said Shot was fitted forever, And then in the 90s, Shot was about to go out. And then hip-hop and Arsenio Hall and all that came around and saved Shot, really.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So they started making them all big and hip-hop giant jackets. So when you and I would get one, they were never fitted like you and I like them skin tight. They look racing, and when you're going 90 down the road, they're not blowing up like a kite.
Right, and the purpose of a jacket's a girdle. You know what I mean? Yeah,
totally, to hold it all in. So what he told me now is Kanye and all the rappers now are into like fitted, tight stuff. Again, they look like hipster. What I'm saying is, so the Shots are back now and kick ass. Yeah. Like all of a sudden, like you saw the one I put on. It's just
that one without the collar is nice.
Just good, fantastic, right? Yeah. Anyway, so I'll let you go so they can find you on Instagram. And then what does a sculpture cost from you real quick before you go? Just so people know.
Oh, I mean, I've got a belt buckle that's $250, or I got a 16-foot sculpture that's $250,000. Yeah. So,
how much was that one that Harley Davidson had you built?
That's the full pop. That was $250,000. That is not even that's not making money. That's me doing something so I can get it out there. You know what I mean? I got a truckload of bronzes that are $15,000 to $25,000 right now.
And how long did it take you to make that one for Harley?
Oh man, that took me over not 2 years, but almost.
Were you going crazy?
Yeah.
Where did you make it? At your house? Like, where do you fit that thing?
I have I've got three tall garage bay doors with doors that go all the way through, drive through.
Yeah.
And I built that in there, but I couldn't build it in its entirety. The first time I saw the thing completed was when it was cast and welded together.
They put it together.
I had to build it in components.
Wow, man, I love you, dude.
Right on, love you too, Dean.
And so you can see his work at the Harley Museum out front, that giant statue, and also Sturgis. He's always there. Thanks for coming by. Right. And look at your daughter texting.
Yeah, we got to get her out of here.
Does she do sculpting or anything?
She actually, there's one sculpture I do where it's a passing of the horse. It represents the obsolescence of a horse and the new wave that the Industrial Revolution ushered in. And so it's basically a cobblestone road with a horse running in kind of a meadow, right? She sculpted all the little pebbles for the cobblestone road, right?
Wow.
It was a funny deal because I told her I'd give her like a penny a pebble, right?
Yeah.
So she works all morning and makes these pebbles, and I owe her like $2. And I'm like, this is horrible, right? So I take her to lunch, and then I go, I'm going to give you a dime a piece.
Yeah.
Well, that motivated her. Then I owed her like $50.
What about any artist in the family? The sons?
My second son draws quite a bit. I mean, he must draw 10 hours a day, right? Yeah.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
What's he drawing? Comic books or something?
Like very color, surrealistic, kind of weird, drippy. It's kind of like a childish Dali.
Yeah. And the other kids, anybody ride or anything?
No, not really. I mean, Carrie is all about, he's the straight up businessman. I've got a daughter in China right now.
Wow.
She's getting like a teaching credential there where she can teach, she teaches English. But then if that works out, she said she's going to go to Russia next?
Oh, yeah, just travel the globe teaching English. Well, thanks for coming by. There he is, Jeff Decker, man. Right thanks for tuning in, guys. See you later.